The Emerald Tablet is the single most famous artifact of the entire alchemical tradition, though only translations of it are available to us today. The Emerald Tablet is a cornerstone of practical applied philosophy, but none of that is obvious to the uninitiated, which is precisely how it was intended to be. It expounds the underlying mechanism in detail, which it refers to as the pattern. We will be exploring the pattern in layers as we delve into deeper levels of unveiling alchemy as divine science. While the lore and legends around the tablet and its authenticity are great and long-standing due to the distilled information it contains, it is too much to cover adequately here, and that is information covered by academics quite thoroughly. For our purposes, we will get right into the heart of what the Sons of Art referred to as the Book of Nature. Nature is happening all around us, all the time, in micro and macro level processes, as an overarching mechanism fully explored by modern science. Nature is doing what it is supposed to do, but it is such an open system that the main material alchemists seek gets dissipated so quickly it cannot be easily captured. Therefore, practical laboratory alchemy happens in a closed system where it is possible to see and capture all of those subtle components and learn what is really happening. This is how alchemists studied the Book of Nature. When they said to study nature, they were not talking about the surface level that anyone can see, or even the deeper levels of the external world that we can access today that were not available earlier in our recorded history. They sought to understand the underlying mechanism of all nature, the one thing that was created by the one mind. That mechanism cannot be found without doing practical laboratory alchemy. The idea of the one thing is the most important principle needed to have a correct mindset. That comes from the Emerald Tablet of Hermes. In truth, without deceit, certain, and most veritable, that which is below corresponds to that which is above, and that which is above corresponds to that which is below, to accomplish the miracles of the one thing. Just as all things have come from this one thing, through the mediation of one mind, so do all created things originate from this one thing through transformation. Its father is the sun, its mother the moon. The wind carries it in its belly. Its nurse is the earth. It is the origin of all, the consecration of the universe. Its inherent strength is perfected if it is turned into earth. Separate the earth from fire, the subtle from the gross, gently and with great ingenuity. It rises from earth to heaven and descends again to earth, thereby combining within itself the powers of both the above and the below. Thus will you obtain the glory of the whole universe. All obscurity will be clear to you. This is the greatest force of all powers because it overcomes every subtle thing and penetrates every solid thing. In this way was the universe created. From this comes many wondrous applications because this is the pattern. Therefore am I called thrice greatest Hermes, having all three parts of the wisdom of the whole universe. Herein have I completely explained the operation of the sun. The complete alchemical process was distilled by a brilliant mind and set down in encoded text for posterity. There is nothing superfluous in this text, and there is nothing left out. However, it is written in allegory, so the work entails coming to understand it so that it can be applied. Without true initiatory alchemical teaching, being taught by an adept or being taught by someone who was taught by an adept, what these things really mean are left to very subjective definitions, when there are actually very specific definitions. Most aspirants have heard the axiom from the first rubric, as above, so below. The part that is left out is usually the to accomplish the miracles of the one thing, which is the rest of that concept. It all comes from the Emerald Tablet, but the way things are normally presented, that last part is selectively omitted. In the next rubric, it is talking about the philosophical elements, which are the building blocks of all alchemical work. We will cover the precise nature of philosophical elements in greater detail later, but we can start to get familiar with how they were used as ciphers by alchemists. The most important thing to remember at the moment is that these philosophical elements are not anything with which you would normally be familiar. That is why they are referred to as philosophical. There are two levels of encoded ciphers here, one set for alchemy and another set for theurgy, and some codes do double duty, which will get pointed out later. For now, it is enough to note the following. Father, mother, wind, and nurse relate to sun, moon, wind, and earth as the planet, which then correspond to philosophical fire, water, air, and earth as the element. Again, the philosophical elements as they are named are not substances that would seem on the surface level to be related to those encoded names. For now, it is only important to note that there are some statements in the tablet's instructions that seem even more odd than the others. In reference to the one thing itself, it says, its inherent strength is perfected if it is turned into earth. So that is an important thing to comprehend. The next thing it says is to separate earth from fire. If one does not know how to get the earth out of fire, one cannot do what it is talking about. That is a really specific thing, and it is only possible if one understands very particular things about the philosophical elements and knows how to obtain them. Correct understanding of these lines becomes a key in identifying which processes truly align with adept teachings and which do not. These precise details are what generally get glossed over by those who think they can just do alchemy, as well as most of those who think they are teaching it. Someone must explain what these key rubrics actually mean, and part of what I will unveil as we proceed is a gradually increasing level of illumination around that. I'm going to get into the distinctions about all of those different aspects so that someone can really tell whether what somebody is saying is actually real or not. What I'm giving are the tool sets and a functional framework to decide for oneself if what is being presented by anyone is real or not, based on the rules given by alchemical adepts that are seldom properly explained. For those who may want more information on the Emerald Tablet, I have created a post for it on the Transcendence Works website, which has a little more information, and the Latin version from which this English version is derived. Footnote text. The as above, so below, as a fragmented phrase, was made very popular by the Kabbalion, written by the three initiates, a pseudonym of William Walker Atkinson. It is known he used different pseudonyms to publish most of the Yogi Publication Society titles, which he wrote himself. It was originally presented as deeply hermetic in origin, but it is not. Aside from a few key ideas lifted from the Emerald Tablet, the rest was nothing more than lifted ideas from the New Thought movement and the mind of the author, who was not even one initiate, much less 3 initiates.